help it. You have perspectives, and those perspectives are built on realities, or at least your perception of reality. You can't really help the fact that that's true. It's true, it's fact, it's what it is. And that means that when you look at the world, you look at the world through your particular lens. And sometimes your lens is less than desirable. And when I say yours, I mean mine as well as anybody else's. I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea, your lens matters, on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Tuesday, the 8th of June of 2021. Thank you for everyone who's here on Rumble and the podcast and on YouTube. Thanks for coming along today, and hopefully you will find what I have to say useful. As usual, I'm going to take the time to read my notes. Again, the subject is Your Lens Matters. Here's what I say in my notes today, and this will kind of give you an idea of my perspective on life. One of the reasons I'm not a romantic is that romantics typically work from a position of feelings, not facts. Regardless the topic, if you're working from your emotions as opposed to what's real, you're bound to get it wrong. Maybe not all the time. I'm not saying all the time, right? Lots of the time you'll do okay, but periodically you're going to get it wrong. This is particularly true because a bunch of folks are working very hard, I didn't say this in my notes, to sell you things that are not true. If you work off how you perceive things without doing your due diligence, they have the power to shape a narrative not based on things actually happening and reasonable or valid tenets. That's the end of my notes. Okay, so here's the deal. People have been surprised to hear that I am not a romantic person. But the reality is, a large part of the reason that I'm not a romantic person is that I have been a romantic person. And I'm going to kind of take something Dr. Thomas Sowell said from a different angle. Somebody pointed out that at some point in the past he was an avowed Marxist or similar, and asked him what changed, and he said, well, something got in the way, and they said, what? And he said, facts. Facts got in the way. I have been had been a romantic for a very long time. I was a romantic person. I won't say that I was horribly, very or highly romantic, but I was romantic. And I came to certain conclusions, and one of the conclusions that I came to was that spent more time getting in my way than actually helping me out. I think most of the reason that I got into the situations that I did as far as my relationships, my personal relationships, is that I allowed myself to romanticize what I was dealing with instead of understanding that there's a difference between love and romance, and working from a position of love, but not one of romance. So this is kind of where things stand for me at this point in my life. I think that things like that modify your lens on the world in unfortunate ways. And one of the things that happens is this. People get sold into the idea that things like Marxism, that things like communism, that things like socialism actually improve the world, make for a better world. And the simple answer is, factually, if you look at what's happened in the past, you'll see they don't. And there are a number of reasons. I could get into the reasons, and I could spend all day at that because that's a subject that I care an awful lot about. Right? It's one of the reasons that I went from being a person who was very much a socialist or a communist in terms of my outlook, though I never called myself such at the time I was. But I came to the conclusion that the things that I had witnessed made it quite plain to me that what people were telling me about communism and socialism and Marxism and all of these various things, those things that they were saying were not true. And there are a variety of reasons, like I say, and some of them have to do with the mechanics of the thing itself, and some of them have to do with I'm trying to think, there was something else. With human nature. Plain and simple, with human nature, right? A lot of the problem with things like communism, socialism, and so forth is ultimately, or initially at least, and ultimately in lots of cases, they end up giving a huge amount of power and authority to a very small number of people who get extremely accustomed to that power and authority and don't want to give it up. Okay? Now, there are questions as to the morality of communism, socialism, Marxism, whatever it happens to be to begin with. And I'll just tell you that in my view, all of them are immoral. Totalitarianism as well, and many others are immoral. They're actually immoral because they require you to exert control over others that you have no business having. But here's what I'm trying to get at. If I look at things romantically, it seems like what people are saying, when they talk about things like communism, socialism, and so forth, it seems like they're good ideas. But the problem is, if I dispose of romance and actually look at things factually, that totally changes my outlook, and it makes me realize what horrible things people are trying to sell when they sell socialism, communism, etc. They're really, really bad things. Okay? The point here is this, though. The point is, you have a lens on your world, and your lens matters. Okay? It matters. If you look at things from a perspective of romance, or from a perspective of your view of fairness, or any number of other things, as opposed to what really is, what you're going to end up thinking, believing, accepting, and putting out there for others to deal with is very likely going to end up being, well, frankly, wrong. It's not going to be correct. That's just reality. That may seem to you like something that's unfair, unjust, or unreasonable, but the fact is, whatever it seems like to you, these days I don't have much to do with Ben Shapiro, but one of the things that he has said consistently in time has been, facts don't care about your feelings. They don't. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. Oh, I feel like I can step in front of a bus and I won't be creamed if it's going 45 miles an hour. I haven't, a simple answer for you. If the bus driver can't avoid you, the chances are really good you're gonna die. I just was brought not so exciting news about my mother and various things that she's going through. She's getting older. She's in her mid-80s. And I'll just tell you right now that I'm hearing some scary stuff about what might happen. And if I pay attention to the facts, I have to realize that my mother may not very much longer be with us. That's sad, it's unfortunate, and I wish it weren't true. And I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I have hope. I have faith that God can do anything and that I could be just totally wrong. And I'll just tell you right now, that's not an unacceptable thing to be at all, for me to be wrong. I love my mother, and I'd love it if she could stay around for a while and even become more lucid and various other things that she's lost over the course of time. But the reality is, when I look at things through the lens of fact, I see that her situation is very dire, and the best that I can do is pray for her and hope that the people who are dealing with her have the wisdom and the knowledge to deal with what they need to deal with where she's concerned. That all having been said, the point of all of this, like I say, is my lens these days typically must be one of fact. Now, to be fair, again, there are things that are miraculous that I can't explain, that I can't figure out how it is or why it is that this thing happened. And some of them are wonderful, and some of them seem to me to be horrible, though I'm pretty sure that's because I don't understand the whole picture. But the point is, your lens matters. How you look at the world. If you look at the world from a perspective of, I'm going to be a romantic, I'm going to, couch arguments in terms of fairness and so forth, I'm sorry to tell you this, but lots of the time, you're going to be bitterly disappointed. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap this up. Again, this has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm Kurt, and I am your host. It is Tuesday, the 8th of June of 2021. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the 9th of June of 2021. Thank you for everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, or anywhere else. Remember, you can positive Rumble me on Rumble or negative Rumble me if you want. Remember, you can thumbs up or thumbs down or like or dislike, however you want to put that, on YouTube. And you can comment on both of those platforms if you want to do that. I'm still working on getting the podcast back going again, and things have just been really tight for me at this point, so I know I'm probably not going to get that going anytime soon. Hope you're doing well today. Hope things are going well for you. We're having a rainy day here, and I'm struggling through some things at my new position, so I need to get back to that. But again, hope things are going well for you, and hopefully we'll see you again on tomorrow's Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video is recorded on Tuesday, June the 8th of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.